When you're too hesitant to paint Christ, so your husband decides to grow his hair out to give you a living model, you decide it's time to start painting Christ. My husband and I went out to the field the other day to take some pictures, and we captured the best light. I was totally blown away with the results. We took a ton of pictures right as the sun was going down, and then I picked my favorite for this painting. I'm starting off by toning the ground, which is basically just a fancy way of saying I'm staining it. This for me serves several purposes. The first one is it gets rid of all of the white gesso underneath so that I don't exactly have to worry about whether or not I've covered up every tiny little speck of white as I'm laying down the paint. And the second purpose that it serves is it helps to unify the whole painting by giving it this kind of warm tone that naturally shines through in different parts of the paint and the brush strokes. So I have an obsession that I think is common among a lot of artists, but I fall in love with my paint palettes, with the paint smeared around it and mixed and blended so beautifully. I think it's an artwork in and of itself. This painting has been challenging for me, and I think it's because it's slightly different in style than I usually paint. My last Christ painting was very kind of detailed and realistic and up close. But this one it's kind of, there's so much light coming behind the figure of Jesus. And as I've been painting it, I've been drawn to the feeling that I want it to be less detailed and more of like an impression or a feeling that Christ is there without a lot of detail. But like I said, I've been struggling with that because I kind of naturally want to go in and paint more detail. And so this is something that I am trying to figure out during this process. At the beginning of this video, you saw a brief shot of my actual art studio, but I've been moving my paintings around the house to where there's the best light, and lately I have not been able to leave this bay window in our dining room. My family has been super patient with me and just being totally okay with me having all of my art supplies there at the end of the table, but it's such a pleasant place to paint, and I think it's becoming more of a permanent place for me. Plus, I'm closer to my family because I'm not tucked away in a bedroom upstairs, so that's been really nice, and I think it's helped me to paint more often because of that. It's interesting having worked with traditional art supplies and digital art supplies because for a while I was creating patterns and kind of graphic styled art for art licensing, which I still do some of on the side, but I got used to the program Procreate on the iPad where if I made a mistake, I just double tapped the screen and it undid my mistake. Well, it was amazing, and I did it so much that I had to kind of like undo that in my brain. Whenever I made a mistake, it was like second nature. I wanted to double tap the painting to undo my mistake, and had to kind of, after that, switch my brain to realize, no, these are traditional art supplies. You can't just snap your fingers and undo something, as nice as that would be. And I mention this because this painting has evolved over the last few weeks, and there are times where I look back at old photos and think, gosh, I liked it better before. But I just have to keep moving forward because experimenting and problem solving are all a part of the process. I knew since I was young that I wanted to paint portraits of Christ, but it's a big undertaking. Like, it's kind of a heavy, a weighty subject to paint Christ. It's not something that I take lightly, and so I waited a long time to do it. But like I mentioned at the beginning, my husband, he wanted me to start painting Christ, and so he just went ahead and started to grow his hair out so that I would have a model. And once he had long hair and a beard, I realized, okay, this is it. I have my model, and it's time to start painting Jesus Christ. So I was starting to feel a little bit dissatisfied with the way that the arms looked on my Christ painting, and I wanted to expose his wrists so that I could show the where he was pierced in his wrists and his hands. And so in a little bit you'll see that I worked on the painting and kind of changed his wrists. I changed his clothing, his sleeves, so that his wrists were exposed. Now this painting isn't finished, but I would love your honest opinion about the sleeves. Should I keep them this way, or should I paint them back down? Because my honest opinion is that I actually don't really love the exposed wrists. I think it looks a little bit off for one. I think the proportions are a little bit weird, but I think that I prefer the original way better. But I would love to hear your thoughts.